One thing that I found in working with my clients, and this was totally unexpected, when you use a MacBook or when you use a PC, with your clients, you're in a lecture mode, like I'm doing right now, okay? Yeah. I'm lecturing to you, okay? So there isn't the interaction, there isn't the involvement. But what I found with the iPad is the mentality changed completely. Like yesterday morning, I was with a client here in Tokyo, and we were, let's see, there were 4 women and 1 man around the table and me, and we were talking about a new website design. And I could call up examples on the iPad and then pass it to them across the table, turn it around and pass it to them. And they could move around, they could put their fingers on it. Now these are not iPad people, okay? They work in a Windows environment totally, and see, one was Estonian, one was Russian, and the rest were Japanese. But they could interact with the iPad immediately, okay? And it became a discussion, not a lecture. Okay? So I could tell immediately when they were getting my point and when they weren't, and we could adjust, and we could move the conversation. And what it's done is it's decreased the amount of time that it takes to reach consensus. And that is so critical here. Okay? If I give a lecture to a Japanese group, a Japanese company, you know, if I give a presentation, I won't get any answer from them. They have to go away and digest it. And the same is true in the US. It's not a Japanese phenomenon. They have to go away and digest it and think about it, and they have to come back and ask questions. Whereas the iPad makes this a totally interactive discussion. And I may not get a final answer at the end of the meeting, but I will get further towards consensus. And it's decreased my time to get approval to move forward with things tremendously. Okay. Photographers are finding this. This is Scott Bourne. He's a famous wildlife photographer. He's extremely well known. If you look at scottbourne.com, you'll recognize a lot of the photos. He makes a ton of money from wildlife photography. And on his podcast, he said, I've handed that iPad to hundreds of people with my pictures on it, and almost everyone I've ever handed it to has wanted to buy one of my pictures. Okay, and the reason is, we used to, as photographers, we used to pass out photos and photo books, and people would flip through the photo books and say, I want that one, and they'd flip back and they'd say, I want that one. And then when we moved to the PC, Mac format, then it became the lecture. Okay, here are your photos. And the photographer became the lecturer. Okay, this photo, this photo, this photo. And so people were more reticent. They weren't engaged, so they became less willing to make a decision to buy. And sales went down. But with the iPad, what the photographers are finding is they load the photos on here, they sit down with the client, and they pass this to the client. And the client can flip through the photos and go back just like they were real photos. And sales have gone up. The photographers on their podcasts are reporting 20% increase in print sales because people are engaged and they have the discussion. You know, it's like the bride and the groom and the mothers are sitting around and they say, oh, I want that one. Oh, no, go back to that one. I want one of those. And sales go up. And it's because this form factor is engaging because you can pass it across the table.